Hello and welcome. My name is Sam. I'm a nutritional therapist, and these videos are aimed to help women going through perimenopause, menopause into older age as painlessly and easily as possible to get through those changes that can be so symptomatic and problematic for us. So we've spoken about a few things over the weeks, and last week I spoke about progesterone, and I thought really got to talk about testosterone, because very rarely do we actually cover testosterone from a female perspective, and it actually does have a great deal of relevance throughout our lives, but also at this period of our time. So basically, testosterone doesn't change in the same way as estrogen. It doesn't just drop off as quickly and sharply as estrogen does. It starts to decline, so probably from about, I think it's our 30s, it starts to decline, and it's the drop off of the estrogen and the changes as the ovaries stop producing the sex hormones that we get this impact. And it's really to do with the imbalance, and sometimes the symptoms that we might associate with low levels of testosterone, they're masked whilst we have the estrogen at its peak, but once it drops off we start to notice some of those symptoms. So I want to talk a bit about that today. Basically, as with this drop-off occurs, the balance goes out, as I mentioned, and testosterone may become higher at higher levels and more dominant than estrogen and progesterone. But it is, we do have more of it than estrogen and progesterone anyway, but the balance shifts a bit here. So although the ovaries do, I've got my notes by the way, and although the ovaries do continue to produce some testosterone at the menopause, the adrenals also compensate there. I think it's going to be nice. It's just beginning to spit with rain. Might have to abandon, we'll see. So what are the symptoms of this sort of low testosterone? Well, the ones that you'll probably be more familiar with are things like low libido and low arousal. This happens to women at the middle years, and that is related to the low levels of testosterone. You can also have lower energy levels, reduced muscle mass. You might find your muscle mass starts to go, and your strength also can decline over this period of time. Changes in mood or well-being are also noticeable, and changes in the body composition, where you might get more adipose fats, basically more outer fat can occur. So there's some of the symptoms, but it may not be related to testosterone. There are other things that could also cause those symptoms to occur. I have to check. I don't know whether we'll have to just see. It's not supposed to rain today. Sorry about that. I had to abandon filming outside because the rain is coming in a bit, so I didn't want to get the camera wet. So I was talking about symptoms, and I wanted to just go to a study, and I can't remember how many years ago it was, and I can't even remember the lady's name, unfortunately. This is off the top of my head. But there were two groups of people, and they wanted to test the cortisol levels and testosterone levels, and the cortisol being representative of the stress and how the body responds to that, and also the testosterone for more sort of confident areas of life. And basically, the first group were told to stand, they measured their cortisol and testosterone levels before they started. Group 1 was told to stand in a very powerful position, so Wonder Woman stance, straight, head up, as though you're very confident. And the second group was told to look as though they were scared and timid and sort of crouched and cowered. And they found that in the group who were in the power posing, their testosterone levels had gone up, the cortisol had gone down. And the opposite occurred in the other group. So where they looked stressed, the cortisol did go up. They then thought, we'll swap the groups around. Now the groups didn't know why they were standing in these positions or what they'd been tested for, so it's not as though they could actually affect the outcome. But they tested them again, and they found the same thing happen. The group that had been formerly stressed, and when they were standing in the power posing, in power poses, their testosterone went back up. So that's quite interesting, that how we hold ourselves can also influence our hormones in our bodies. So it's not just the hormones influencing how we feel, we can push the alternative, the opposite. So it's like being scared of something and doing it anyway. You can really increase those feelings of confidence by saying, no, I'm going to do it. I went up a ladder at the weekend. I'm scared of heights. But I thought, I know I can climb the ladder. I know I'm going to be safe. I just need to just keep a grip. And I did it, and it was fine. And now I know I can do it again. It's one of those things. So yes, I just wanted to mention that. So that's something maybe to keep in mind if you want to try and increase your testosterone a little bit. So what can we do to help our testosterone levels? Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about nutrition, but there's no direct link with nutrition. It's indirect. But first of all, strength training, and doing it on a regular basis where you're using some weights or resistance bands or resistance training of some sort, or even your own body weight. So, you know, using your own body weight with press-ups and squats, and just basically working those muscles. This can help maintain the muscle, of course, and also help support a healthy level of testosterone. So strength training has been cited, as has high intensity training. This is where you do, and this is just more of a slight positive effect on testosterone levels, but this is where you might do squats or lunges for a certain period of time, or sprints for a short period of time, doing what you can and really pushing that high intensity for a shorter period. And that can show a small amount, so it could be free weights again, things like that. Maintaining a healthy body weight is really important. And it's been found that either excess fat or even severe calorie restriction, this can affect the hormone levels as well. So we don't want to go too much one way or the other. So that's quite important to maintain a healthy weight. When it comes to food, as I say, it's indirect. So eating protein and healthy fats, these are the building blocks really for the hormones. So if we've got those building block materials, we make these steroid hormones, which testosterone is one of, using cholesterol, and our body can produce cholesterol if it's not coming in our diet, but we have this blend. So we really need those healthy fats and the protein, good quality, to produce the hormones. And this includes things like eggs, salmon and oily fish, Greek yogurt I've got down, avocado, olive oil, nuts and seeds. So these are foods that I have brought up time and time again, and I include in my diet on a weekly basis, some of them daily. The next thing, and this will come as no surprise as well, is sleep, and making sure you get the right amount of sleep and you get up at the same time each morning. This can really help the levels of the hormones, particularly testosterone here. Being very consistent with those practices is also important. And basic good sleep hygiene, just to help to just get into the practice of going to bed, falling to sleep in a reasonable amount of time and waking up at the same time. So sleep hygiene includes the temperature of the room, the type of bed covers you have that let your body breathe, and you know, you perhaps using something like lavender spray on the pillow, things like that. And then again, I always put sleep and stress together, managing chronic stress. I've just mentioned cortisol. And as I spoke last week with cortisol in relationship to progesterone, they use the same starting material to make testosterone and cortisol and other sex hormones and various other hormones as well. And when we're stressed, that starting material is directed more to the cortisol production rather than the sex hormone production. And that's because that is deemed to be the more important to save our lives. That stress message is really about fighting, fleeing danger, basically getting yourself into a safe arena somehow. So managing stress can be really important. It does help all our hormones to be more balanced. And what we can do there, we've mentioned this last week as well, physical activity, meditation and mindfulness. The activities such as yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi are particularly gentle, depending on the type of yoga you do. And actually Tai Chi is a self-defense at the end of the day, so it depends how you use it. So go for the gentle sources of these to help mind, body come together and get a good balance and manage that stress. I like to spend time outdoors. I love to walk the dogs in the countryside around here. I don't know whether you could hear the birds singing outside. That I find that really peaceful. That really helps me distress every day. And then social connections being raised as well. That's important. We've seen that in the blue zones where people connect with others and they live a longer, healthier life as a result of various things, but connection with others is one of those areas that seems to be significant. There could be a few nutrient deficiencies, so it's worth being tested for what are your vitamin D levels like. If you live in the northern hemisphere, it's possible, very possible that you could be low. You might need to have assistance there. Zinc levels are important for production of testosterone. Magnesium we've mentioned as well with hormones previously, and particularly at this age it tends to be lower in men and women. So knowing your levels, where you can be tested, where it is relevant, I would say taking single supplements is potentially dangerous. That sounds very scary, doesn't it? If we take a single supplement, say you just took zinc, you may find copper levels might go down as a result. You may find you get another imbalance occur. So it's always wise to get expert advice, find out what your levels are, where it's relevant. Sometimes you can't really tell how your body's using a certain nutrient, for instance. You know, calcium will be in bone, it won't be necessarily in the blood, this type of thing. So it's not always easy, but having someone help you and never taking a single supplement for long periods, because you can cause disruption to other minerals and or minerals in the body, basically. So just a bit of caution there, but finding out whether you've got enough could be useful, or whether there's indication through a clinical check could also be very useful. Yes, as I said at the beginning, this is just to close off on testosterone. If you have any of those symptoms, you may also find that low estrogen is relevant to sleep issues, to stress going higher, to depression or anxiety. It could be related to thyroid and medications as well. So it's not just low levels of testosterone. There are other things. Medications particularly can deplete us of certain vitamins and minerals. I know it's not the postman, he's been so over there growling at something else, so sorry about that. So yeah, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about testosterone, and knowing that we can do a little bit about it, we can support ourselves, and if I think we'll just push that tube. There you go. I think neighbours are bringing the dustbins in, so the girls are barking about that. Yes, finding out what your levels are, and actually, you know, there are potentially, you have a word with your doctor as well if you wish, because there might be something the doctor could do to help here as well. I'm not familiar with that, and I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. But from a natural approach with foods and exercise and sleep patterns and stress, you can increase your testosterone levels and help bring back a bit more balance to your sex hormones. I hope that's been useful. Please like and subscribe if you would. It doesn't cost anything, and please share this with anybody who might find it interesting, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Thank you very much. Bye bye.